Cheating is baseball's oldest profession. No other game is so rich in skullduggery, so suited to it, or so proud of it. This quote was said by Thomas Boswell, an American sports columnist. Cheating is ingrained in the history of baseball, basically since Major League Baseball was first formed. Cheating has affected the game in so many ways, and will continue to affect the game for years to come. From the Chicago Black Sox to the PED scandals, there have been numerous accounts of cheating throughout the history of baseball. Major League Baseball was created in 1869 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Fast forward 50 years to 1919, when the Chicago White Sox threw the 1919 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Several players for the Chicago White Sox decided to purposely lose the series after gamblers reached out to them. The plan was for the gamblers to bet lots of money on the opposing team, and each player who helped lose the game would earn some of the profits. According to History.com, players were expected to make $100,000 each, which was an enormous amount of money during this time. This was the first recorded major cheating scandal in baseball, but was definitely not the last. Another cheating scandal that occurred was with Pete Rose, an MLB player and coach who was caught up in another serious debacle. Pete Rose had an amazing career, but is rarely remembered for it. He's remembered for being banned for life from Major League Baseball after gambling on a game in which he was managing. According to Bleacher Report, a 225-page report was filed to the Commissioner of Baseball of this incident in 1989, and in that same year, he was banned. These two incidents were major news during their time and still are remembered to this day. Scandals like these two were pretty rare, and cheating wasn't brought up much when talking about America's pastime until the steroid era. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, there was a boom in the number of players being accused of using steroids. This is because of the record-breaking amount of home runs being hit at this time. Steroids were never really associated with baseball before this, but in 2005, that is all anyone could talk about. There had been questions about whether players had been doping, but not concrete proof that there actually were, until a congressional hearing brought up reports of a multitude of players who were in fact caught using illegal steroids. This swept the nation and was another huge occurrence of cheating in the game of baseball. Many famous players at this time, such as Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Roger Clemens, were dragged through the mud, and their careers were ruined because of these findings. In a 21-month investigation into the use of steroids, George Mitchell reported that 89 players that alleged to have used steroids. Steroids were a huge part of baseball's history and still are to this day. Even now, baseball is struggling with other cheating scandals. For example, the Houston Astros stole signs during the 2017 MLB playoffs and eventually won the World Series that year. The Astros were investigated this year, and the MLB did in fact find that they were cheating during that season, specifically during the playoffs. The team would use cameras throughout the ballpark to help them steal signs from the opposing catcher who was giving it to the opposing pitcher. According to the New York Times, the Astros hooked up a TV in their dugout that had the feed of the center field cameras on it and would relay the signs that they stole to the batters by banging on a trash can to alert the batter what pitch was coming. Even though from the beginning of the creation of baseball, teams have always tried to steal the opposing team's signs during games. It is in the foundation of the game, but when it involved this much technology and strategy to be executed, it went too far. Ultimately, the Astros manager and general manager were suspended a year. They were stripped of draft picks in 2020 and 2021 and fined $5 million. This was a huge scandal this year that took over the news in the offseason and was another saga in the history of cheating in baseball. Baseball has been affected by so many cheating scandals, and the game has truly been shaped and changed for the better because of these. Although these scandals would seem to ruin the integrity of the game, but in fact, They have helped grow the popularity of the sport, instill rule changes, and ultimately allow the MLB to get ahead of future problems that could negatively affect the league. Cheating is at the roots of the game of baseball, and it wouldn't be the same without it. This also has brought up the questions about problems that could arise in the future of baseball and cause another scandal to occur. For example, with sports betting become legalized in some states. All this leads to the question, what is going to be the next big cheating issue in the MLB?